Okay, Shiraya, we're on page 261. If anyone has the safer. What happened to Simcha? Went to America? You stopped learning?
That's what happens when you go to Chol.
Yeah, gotta stay away from there.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. Shiraya Shata Maskim Lases Mumim Mimase Avaida. Okay, we're up to number the 11th enticement, obstacles and temptation. I think I relate to this very much, okay? When the Yetzer sees that you intend, you want to do a mitzvah, whatever it is. So he scares you. What does it mean he scares you? He makes the mitzvah sound like a great challenge. Make you afraid of the difficulties doing it. He gives you a few examples. You decide, let's say for tshuva, now it's an Yetzer, early in an Yetzer, supposed to fast. So, okay, the fast, you got to fast. You fast because it says Mishnah Berurah, it says Shulchan Aruch, it says Gemara, whatever it says, fast day, it's a chiyuv. But if you other fasts, if you ever have a thought to fast, what's the next thought? Oh, I'm not going to have koyach. I'm going to be too weak. I won't be able to daven. I won't be able to learn. Ridiculous. Don't do it. Right? So he says, be careful because fasting can weaken you, can make you ill. And it's a from chesed because it can interfere with your work in this world and for the world to come. It'll affect both your material and spiritual pursuits.
Oh, this is your Tahar, so saying don't fast on the you made some?
No, and the Yemei Tzom, he doesn't have much of a way in because it's halacha. But let's say you feel mitzvah tshuva, right? One of the parts of doing tshuva, it's brought fasting, or when there's an Yetzer. So you want to fast. You have this idea. You want to fast.
Okay, got it.
So right away, all those thoughts come rushing into you. No. In our generation, we're very weak. No, you're not going to be able to learn. You're not going to be able to go to business. Whatever you have to, you're not going to be able to. Or if you want, I'm not sure what he means here by additional tefillah at night. Or I don't know, Saint Tilla, I don't know.
Tefillas Nadava, maybe?
What?
Tefillas Nadava, maybe?
Well, I don't know, because we don't really do so much Tefillas Nadava. But it could be the same thing, Tesefes learning at night, right? You want to stay up a little and learn a little extra. So Yala Alipcha, right away, what comes to your mind? No, you should know. You can ask the doctor. Sleep is more important to you than even eating. It protects your health. It will strengthen your body more than food and drink. Therefore, this is just Rav Miller, you should go to sleep early and forget about staying up a little longer saying extra tefillos. By the way, we will see, because this is in the Chovos haLevavos in the Shar Havas Hashem, expresses a high opinion of Saint Tillerman. Okay, and we'll have to speak about it then, because there is things about not Saint Tillerman night, but we'll get to that. In any case,
sorry, isn't there something that like, oh, the Yetzer wants you to stay up later to do more mitzvahs because then you'll be too tired the next day?
Yes, and yes. The Yetzer dances, there's a Yiddish saying, "Mekenish tanzen of beide chasanas." You can't dance both ways. But the Yetzer can, and that's what we see it all over the place. He'll when it works, he'll say what you said, Ron. Learn late, and there's the famous story, with the Chafetz Chaim, that he came into the Beis Medrash in Radin and he closed the lights, and he said, basically that, get a good night's sleep, you'll learn much better tomorrow, and on the other hand, you have these thoughts that you want to make a mishmar. Okay, I want to make a mishmar Thursday night. I know tomorrow's a short day. In any case, I want to learn extra. I want to put in that extra time. No, don't do that. It's going to ruin your whole day. It's going to ruin everything. You didn't get there. Whichever way you go, he's there. He holds that this is one of the ways getting close to Hashem. Okay, we'll get to Shavas Hashem. But Yetzer puts the obstacles in your path and says, what are you doing staying up at night later than usual? Of course, like, of course, when it comes to other things, and we'll see when it comes to Averis, but when it comes to other things, it's okay to stay out late at night. We just had the Holy Super Bowl a few weeks ago. And I do mock the boys in yeshiva, but it's not really fair because I have no interest in no type in sports, following sports. It doesn't hold any interest to me. So it's easy for you to make fun of them. I say, I can't believe you're giving up a night of sleep to watch a bunch of people play a game. In the morning, you can find out the results. You can see the replay. What are you staying up all night and losing a night of sleep? But that makes perfectly good sense to them. And yet, if I would say to them, let's learn all night, they would say how it's too tired. Okay. And again, there is some truth to that. I have to be honest, because the Yetzer there is pushing you to stay up, and here he's fighting you. He doesn't want you to stay up. But this is part of what we're saying. The Yetzer comes and tells you.
Well, I think there's a big difference, not to be cynical, but I think there's a big difference between passively watching something and having to use cognitive power to learn.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. So I could argue the other way, Ron. When you're active, it's easier to stay up than when you're just sitting. It's easier to fall asleep then. It goes both ways. The point is, whichever way you're going to go, the Yetzer is there. So this is where the Yetzer is coming. When you want to go an extra mile, when you want to do a mitzvah, he gives you all the reasons why it's not the smart thing to do. It's not the smart thing to do. And one of the ways we fight that, and he's not saying it, but one of the ways we fight that is we're saying, well, 1 minute, like, you did this 1 minute yesterday. I stayed up for the Super Bowl. I didn't have all these arguments about it not being healthy all night. The missing, I didn't have why suddenly now? Oh, so now I understand why suddenly now I have all this complaints, right? Because it's about learning Torah. You fight it a little bit by you find where you yourself, and I think it does say in this frame. So when you get up there, and they show you what you did. If you try to defend yourself, they show you, well, if that's true, then how come? There's a story. I don't know if it's true, because not only didn't I hear it firsthand, I didn't even hear it, right? But the concept that there was a bacher in the yeshiva in the mayor here who never got up for Shacharis. He never got up for Shacharis. And one morning, he had a flight to America. I guess maybe it was your Pesach time or something, and he was sleeping, and the Rosh Yeshiva didn't let anyone wake him up. And they said, why? He says, because when he gets to Shemayim, and they're going to ask him, why didn't you get up for davening? He was going to say, I couldn't get up. And then they're going to say, well, but when you had a flight, you got up. So I want to take that. I want to protect him from that. I want to take that argument. And everybody say, no, even when I had a flight, I missed it. Right? But for ourselves, right? One of the ways to counteract these arguments that come up, it comes up constantly. I'm talking about myself. It comes up constantly, I have this good thought to do something, and suddenly I see so many reasons why I shouldn't be doing it. And one of the ways of counteracting it is by saying, yeah, but look, if it was something else, you did it. You could have done it. So let's see. You suddenly feel, someone comes to you, or you hear about a case, you hear about, what's going on now. There's 15 different collections for the different, places in Ukraine and it's all like real valid. Is there, what I mean? So you move to say, I want to go online. I'm going to give this sucker. What's the next 1 minute? No, but I need the money, and if I give it here, what will I do? Will I make to give the other suckers? There's all kind of arguments come up. The will make you think about the loss of the money. Put a picture of poverty before your eyes. V'yaskircha dalus hamiskenes v'chesron, and remind you of the misery of poverty and privation. So don't be so quick to give away your money. And so whenever you want to do something good, the Yetzer is always there to make it more difficult, to discourage you from doing it. Will make you think that giving tzedakah might cause you such loss of money that you can't afford. And I'm just saying on my own, right? Okay, well, if that's true, how come I allowed myself to buy X, Y, and Z that I didn't really need? And there I didn't make a cheshbon that I can't afford it. I got to put the money away, right? So you see through the
Do you have an example of that?
You
have an example of something that, like, I'm trying to understand. I understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to understand why you're saying it. Like,
no, I'm saying when you want to give tzedakah, something that Yetzer comes and gives you these arguments, right? And then the next night you go out to a restaurant and you eat.
Right.
And and you put that money down. You didn't say 1 minute. All those arguments that came to your mind not to give the tzedakah because you need the money, and you know what it's like if you don't have enough money. Why didn't any of those arguments happen when you went to buy yourself a meal in a restaurant, which is quite more expensive than a supper at home? What? Yeah.
Right. So I hear what you're saying. I think that's a very true element. So I guess the question is the motivation for going out to a restaurant in the first place. Is it no, I'm saying it's like, look, there are certain things we do to refresh ourselves with terms of stress, or as terms of just needing to kind of pamper yourself, to give yourself to mechazik, be able to keep going. And that can kind of fall into that category. Does that make any sense?
Yes, absolutely, Ron, absolutely. Mentioned it a dozen times here, the story in the yeshiva where I spoke about whether restaurants is a positive expression of Yiddishkeit or not, and I introduced it by saying that last night. I don't want anyone to come out of the saying the Rabbi Langston said you can't go to restaurants, because I want to tell you, last night I went out with my wife to a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Right. And like you're saying, I felt that it was important, for me and my wife to get out and take a break. That's not the point. The point just is, how come when it comes to wanting to give money for a mitzvah, for a tzedakah, buying a aluminium and spending extra money there, we become very cheap. We have all the arguments why I shouldn't spend that money. And when it comes to other things, we don't even have those arguments. It doesn't mean, again, Ron, I'm not saying you can't go to the restaurant.
No, because
there are times it's justified.
No, I think it's the same way around in both situations. Like you also justify going out because you understand the benefit you get from doing so, versus I'm going to drop 50 shekel on, whatever, on this tzedakah. Is like, that's not going to refresh. That's not going to give me the mechazik I need to get for your relationship or whatever. It's not going to do that. So it's like, it's tough.
But you're right. You're absolutely right. And it could be, it's justified to go to the restaurant.
Where'd you go, by the way?
Not. No one's saying it's not. I'm just saying, but at least why doesn't that argument first come to your mind? And they say, no, it's true. I got to take care of my money, but this is important. Why doesn't it go through your mind? It's the exact same way it goes when you're faced with a mitzvah to spend money. Why here suddenly all the alarms start ringing about how you can't spend the money? You don't finish the month. You need it for your budget. Don't be so quick. Chazal say don't give more than a chomesh, because then you're going to become poor, right? And yet when you go to the restaurant, and again, a mitzvah is also a good thing. It was a justified thing to do the mitzvah, right? And yet all the alarm bells ring. Why don't they ring here? Now, it could be, you're right, Ron. Here you decide it's justified. Why didn't you have all those alarms suddenly? He's saying those alarms are the Yetzer. So therefore, when you want to do the same thing goes for all kinds of mitzvahs and acts of kindness. He tries to frighten you off. And magnify the obstacles in your mind. It's so hard to do that mitzvah. It's difficult. I'm going to have to travel far. I know that I'm very, very susceptible, whatever it is.
Susceptible.
Right? And when I know there's a wedding that I really should be going to. It's no, you're gonna the whole night. You're gonna have to get on a bus. It's 45 schlep there, 45 schlep back. You know what I mean?
You'll miss night cheer.
I'm gonna miss the night chair. Yeah, you should. The night chair has become such a good excuse. It's mamish. Like I can't go here, I can't go there because I got the night chair. but I'm saying all those things come up, you know. And I would wonder if I was going to something that really interests me, would the trip really bother me, you know? Again, we're not saying in each case, we're not saying right or wrong. Like you said, like you brought up before. On one end, it's right, you have to get a good night's sleep. It's justified, it's a true argument, right? The only question is, right? The Yetzer does when you sometimes you move, right? You're inspired. You want to put in an extra night now of learning. You want to put in an extra hour of learning. Suddenly, automatically, all these arguments come up. That he's saying is the Yetzer, and you have to be aware of that. And now, so weigh it truly, weigh it honestly. Maybe okay. Maybe I shouldn't do a whole night. Let me do a half a night. Let me do a half an hour. Right? It's not all or nothing. To discourage you from doing it. The flip side, when you think about doing an avera, will make its anticipated pleasure seem more attractive. And make you forget the punishment for it. Yetzer will urge you to do it, and even to become addicted to it. Interesting that that's how he understands that. If you sense this argument from Yetzer, so this is the answer. That's the Yetzer talking. And what's my argument back to the Yetzer? If I pick up on this, I sense that this is what's going on here. The answer, that any distress you may have suffered in the past because of doing mitzvahs. You did stay up at night and daven to learn. You did give more money, let's say, than you could have or should have. All that distress that you may have suffered has left no mark on you. I'm fine. I'm healthy. I caught up on the sleep. I caught up on the effort. All those days that you fasted, no marks are left on you. For all the efforts you put in the mitzvahs, nothing's deducted from your health. Rather, it passed by quickly and was gone. And on the other hand, you're left with the mitzvah, have its reward forever. Eternity. So when you stay up to learn on Chovos, says Ramil, you experience discomfort for a few hours. It's not easy. It really isn't easy. And the next day, you're really tired, right? But the loss of sleep had no permanent effect on you. Yet the Torah you learn and its eternal reward will always be yours. That's the argument back. The difficulties that you have at the time pass and leave no effect on you, but the reward for the mitzvah remains. The same is true for the hunger pains you feel when you fast on Yom Kippur. If a person fasts during the day, and he eats at night, it's as if he hasn't fasted at all. His strength comes back. And the reward as forever. It's true. While you're fasting, it's difficult. You might be hungry. Then you go daven Mariv, and you sit down to eat, and the fast is forgotten. And some people are hard fasters. I'm not talking halachically when you're allowed to break your fast. And I'm not saying, well, let's say it was a hard fast. But when you think about, okay, the next day I'm fine, right? So this is the response to the Yetzer. Again, if it makes you really physically sick, you have to ask a shayla. And that's always the answer to the Yetzer. Don't make the decision on your own. Go to a chava, say lecha chover, say lecha chover, say lecha rav. Go to a rav, go to a friend that you respect, describe to him what you'd like to do, hear what he has to say. He doesn't have that Yetzer talking, and because it's talking to you, he could give you a much more objective decision of whether it's the right thing to do right now or not. But the argument to Yetzer is, I've been there and I've done it, and you're not right. I'm fine. I fasted, I davened, I learned, I didn't sleep. Same just one who stayed up part of the night. When you go to sleep, your vigor returns. It's as if he's has not been up. But for that time that you stayed up and you did whatever you did, and the davening you did, it's gonna stay forever. But you're not stuck.
But that's not. But we can't use that as a rebuttal against the Yetzer Hara, because we're not supposed to be doing mitzvahs for the schar.
You're not supposed to be doing the mitzvahs for schar, but you're allowed to use it for rebuttal. You are allowed to use it. You're allowed
wouldn't that be the Yetzer Hara telling us to use that as a rebuttal so we don't do the mitzvah lishma? I don't know. It just doesn't. It seems like a very weak way to do it. We're using a non-ideal way to do some kind of return. I don't know. It didn't sit right.
I hear what you're saying. Again, let's go that way. You know what I mean? If it's not to do it, or rather to use the loy lishma, that I'm going to get schar for doing it. So you do it shaloi lishma, and you hope that one day you'll get to the lishma. The other option here is not to do the mitzvah, because you're going to say, I can't do it, right? I need to sleep, I need this, I need the strength, I need whatever.
No, I think what I'm asking
is fine to use the loy lishma. But why here it's not even a real loy lishma. It's a loy lishma to argue against the Yetzer Hara. When you actually do it, you're not going to be doing it for the schar. You understand? After I decide and I make the resolve to stay up and learn all of night Chovos, let's say, right? And then I'm not thinking that I'm doing it for the schar. It's when I just finished the Suda and I'm tired, bloated because you ate too much. And all these arguments that is really the Yetzer Hara talking to you, telling you how it's not worth it, and you're not going to be able to daven the next morning, you'll be tired tomorrow, and all that stuff. That's when you use the loy lishma. That's also called using the Yetzer Hara's tricks against him. You use the loy lishma, which is really the Yetzer Hara, right? You use the loy lishma to argue against that and say, that's crazy. Sure, I'm tired, and sure I'm there, but look what I'm going to have. I'm going to have a night of learning Torah. All this Torah is the greatest mitzvah in the world. When you actually, after you're in base right, you're learning. You're not thinking like that anymore. Now you're thinking about that you're learning Torah. It's just a way to fight the battle. It's a tool. And by the way, it's true. If that same night you're tired and you need it, and you don't have it, and you need an extra, injection. If it takes a loy lishma, it takes a loy lishma. But that's okay. We take loy lishma, but here we're talking before that. We're talking about just overcoming the arguments.
Okay.
Let's see. Avo inyan hatstaka. He says, Kvar be'ati b'shah b'tochen be'eretiv. I already discussed in the chart of b'tochen. Everyone should know that Hashem's provided each person with additional money to give to tzedakah. You don't lose it. It's not really your money. That's all the things we talked about. You're just a banker. To the contrary, the more he gives, the more he will eventually have. Okay. As far as fighting the argument about doing Haveris, when the Yetzer makes you forget the punishment, think only of the pleasure, reflect about Chalifas Hanoyasecha Mehera. So give some thought how quickly the pleasure fades. Hamutar also should have both permitted pleasures and forbidden pleasures. If a person becomes, say, a big nasher or a gourmet, he likes to eat. He should know that eating is for the moment only. When he's finished eating, immediately it's all gone. And yet, if the pleasures are forbidden, reflect how the shame of a disgraceful act and its punishment remains with you in this world and the next world. Then, with these things, the Yetzer will be defeated. But you become incentivized. Wow, never heard of that word. To do good things. Oh, like incentive. You become incentivized. I wonder if that's right. Well, he had a good vocabulary. You will then become incentivized to do good things. But you will desist from any disgraceful act. Okay. Tomorrow, the 12th incitement, regret. Okay. Everybody.